Last week, John and I explained the weight loss revolution that is GLP-1 drugs, what they are and how they're rewiring the way we eat, drink, and think about our bodies. If you missed that episode, go back and check that one out first. This week is part 2, and we're going to explore the unexpected economic knock-on effects of the rise of these drugs, shrinking bra sizes, the slow death of the impulse aisle, and secondhand fashion platforms suddenly drowning in 2 big wardrobes. When 1 in 8 Americans is on these jabs, the ripples go everywhere. But I can't map out an entire collapsing snack economy alone. I'm going to need a man who's been able to put a second story on his flat because he's been jabbing so hard that all the money he spent on Bounties and Snickers and Mars bars, his favorite 3 in the chocolate bar family, that money is now all gone to his second story of his house. John Maloney, are you ready to explore the knock-on effects of GLP-1s with me today, sir?
Yeah, the house that ketones built, I call it.
The house that Ozempic face built, the house that my temporal wasting built.
Temporal wastage. This whole second story I think of as just a kind of empty temple area that's been, it's like we're inside of somebody's fat-deprived temporal region. Yeah, it's fascinating. So last week we kind of scratched the surface, obviously, I guess, of the more individual sort of ethics components of it, and I suppose the other dimension which we want to explore this week, and which really you could go on and on about, as you could so many aspects of this discussion, is the complex web of economic effects.
Yeah.
And you sent me some key kind of points in the last few days, and it actually genuinely got me quite excited, because not like normally I'm just excited for show, but actually excited.
Excited for show.
Just the kind of, you know, it's like an ecosystem, and you think there's all these dimensions that I wouldn't have immediately thought of that get affected by the kind of, you know, the domino effect of things affecting other things. So, you know, you think about, obviously, you know, I had in my kind of notes to talk about, which we didn't get to last week, the kind of effect on, you know, big food, big sugar, and, you know, that we hear a lot about, like corn syrup and food lobbies and the power that they wield in, I mean, particularly in the States, but to an extent here as well, trying to sort of throw extra calories into everything, trying to sweeten everything, trying to kind of upsize things so that you might, you know, people can't stop, and the sort of complex science behind hyper-processed foods. You know, you think about the kind of the sort of Pringles effect, where people just, it does something to your brain that means that you can't stop eating it even when you're full, and particularly some people are more vulnerable to that than others. But obviously, this is a kind of a pharmacological bulwark against that, really, and people are running from the arms of from the groping arms of big food into the welcoming embrace of Big Pharma, and I love that transition.
It's so true. It's so true, isn't it? That it's always just going to be one huge behemoth industry that is that your money's going to.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just this kind of, well, all right, you know, we won't give our money to United Foods or whatever the fuck, you know, whoever the kind of shadowy sugar conglomerate is, but we'll give it to Novo Nordisk instead, and we will basically, you know, we will accept, in a sense, capitulation, that we can't use willpower to stand up to generations of evil food scientists, but we can use expensive medication to do it. And it's, so it's fascinating. So you get this kind of shift down to, I mean, some of those companies are obviously redesigning the way they offer food to kind of to sell it in smaller quantities, to sell it in a particular way that they sometimes explicitly market as like GLP-1 friendly. And And as you say, not just the food items themselves, but the way, as you alluded to in the introduction, the way they sell them, the way they market them, in terms of the physical spaces where we buy food, the way that it's like the attractiveness or otherwise of the kind of impulse areas in shopping centers. That's all being forced to shift. And I suppose the way that people think about, food as rather than a kind of indulgence. Thinking about it perhaps in a more healthy way, I suppose, as a sort of as a fuel source. So your goal is really, how can I get as many nutrients as I need before my kind of nausea reflex that's come from all the all the Wegovy that I've ingested kicks in, and I start retching.
All the Gila monster saliva that I've been. I couldn't afford GLP-1s, so
that's been the greatest revelation of this whole thing. To me.
I have a Gila. I have a small Gila pet out the back, and I just make out with it every morning. So I get that
just a little
GLP-1 like saliva in my mouth.
I've got a miniaturized cattle prod that I put on that I apply to the Gila monster, and it just secretes hormones.
You get 10 times the dose to your real shrink real quick. You're just buzzing. It's like licking toads.
Yeah, that's right.
You get Ozempic face straight away. I've got actually a few things here just before we start the episode. If people are watching on YouTube, me and John both look a little bit different. John less so. I look a little bit different because I'm in Barcelona, so I'm recording on my webcam today. But John is actually, even though he's using his webcam, because you have such a beautiful studio setup, actually looks all right. Like it's a pretty decent look for a webcam. And I should also say, John, last week I think I said 30 million Americans are currently on GLP-1s. Apparently it's 10 million, but it's projected to be 30 million by 2030, which made me giggle because I was when I read that I had got that statistic wrong, I was like, oh wow, I'm way off. And then I realized something which made me a little bit scared, and that is that I was thinking 2030 was like 10 years away, and it's 4 years away. So I was like, it's not that big of a mistake, because it's like, no, it's within the next 4 years it's going to be. And
probably gone up by a couple of million since we did that last episode.
And Morgan Stanley raised its projection that by 2035 it'll be 55 million Americans. So in the next
55 million.
In 10 years' time, they're thinking 55 US Americans maybe, mainly because of the new pills in Medicare cover. So I guess it's probably going to, price is going to come down and it'll be on more schemes. But John, I've got a bunch of stuff I want to go through with you today about how it's changing the economy. Would you like me to just kick off a few of these and you can rap with me, brother? Fashion. How's it going to change fashion? So Victoria's Secret CEO Hilary Super says bra size. This one, John, not sure how happy you're going to be about this one, but bra
Auga.
As a man who real loves those honky donkers, I don't know how happy you're going to be. Hilary Super says, so larger bra sizes are going down, have swung down by about 3%, which she directly attributes to GLP-1s. Sales of larger bra sizes, 42 plus brand D Cups, which is also the name of a bunch of magazines that John subscribes to, are slowing down. So we've got bra sizes.
Glad I've hung onto those magazines, because they'll become more valuable as the awooga crisis hits. The scarcity of big honkers.
Your vintage magazines, people just. Boys of the future just won't be able to comprehend that boobs were ever that big.
I'll just be reading it to my grandson going, these things used to be everywhere, mate. You couldn't you just get on a tram and somebody would have them. What a world.
Yeah. Similarly.
Sorry everyone.
Similarly, there's been an explosion in larger clothing sizes turning up on secondhand websites because everybody is shedding clothing, is shedding their clothing. So this is wardrobe turnover, the secondhand boom. ThreadUp is winning on both sides. Purchase volume of large XL and plus size items grew 6% in March because people are offloading old wardrobes. So it's basically like, I guess people are selling bigger clothes for cheaper and getting rid of them. And yeah, and apparently people are buying new wardrobes as well, John. So this is one of the main knock-on effects is that people are not fitting in their clothes anymore. So suddenly they're having to buy new clothes.
Slimmed down outfits.
Yeah. Denim is king. ThreadUp says denim is the number one category for GLP-1 users. Love that.
Yeah, okay. So people are not just, I mean, they're downsizing, but you're also getting into a kind of different style or different options of style.
Denim for some reason.
Yeah, denim. Well, I guess denim is like, it's not very forgiving, is it? You know,
That's a great point. That's a great point.
If you're a very large person, particularly for women who are concerned about their hips or buttocks. Reminds me of another stack of mags I have here, but we won't go into that. They will, you know, they might wear like more loose fitting pants and then they lose weight and then they think, I'm going to get into like a really nice skin tight denim, or they'll think, oh, you know, I'll get into like, I'll buy a bikini. I've never owned a bikini before.
Yeah. Totally.
Or they'll think, you know, I'll have a crop top because the 90s are hot again right now. And
I'll take a boob tube.
I can crop my top. Wouldn't have been caught dead in a crop top. I mean, maybe I should get in on it. I'm the kind of guy who wears an oversized T-shirt in the pool because I don't want anyone seeing my man boobs. But maybe I'll just semaglutide it up.
There's been a huge drop in oversized swimming man's T-shirts. Planted to fall to the floor.
Chlorine encrusted hypercolor T-shirts on secondhand clothing websites. Okay.
Yeah, I've got.
And that,
here,
I mean, that's got to have, even that has got to have knock-on effects for a whole bunch of things. So if you think about the amount of, like, it sounds silly, but if you think about the amount of cloth, the amount of textiles that are taken up with kind of millions and millions of larger sizes, and then that has implications for the people who are like producing raw materials. You know, has implications for the silkworms that are eating the mulberries, making the silk. Suddenly, they don't have to make as much silk; they can have a rest.
What they'll do is they'll try and convince everybody to just wear flowing slop goof garments so that they can keep selling as much thread. They'll go, look. Don't wear fitted clothes. I know that you're all skinny now, but we really need to shift this thread. So just drape yourself in wraps
and sloppy slops
and capes. There's going to be an explosion in big cape. It's going to be pushing.
Exactly. But I guess also like freight costs and other things are going to be affected because they're not moving as much material. They're also maybe not moving as much food. I don't know. Like all that stuff is.
I have that for you here, John. That was number 13. Okay. Less freight demand, the Ozempic effect on trucking. This is a real freight analysis track called the Ozempic Effect. So it's some freight analytics company. GLP-1 users consume 16 to 39% less food a year. So this is for the food itself. So 320 to 780 fewer pounds of food per person. So essentially, they will need to be shifting less food around because less food is just being consumed.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Which I guess eventually means, you know, farms will have to find a way to do something with the land that they're currently using to grow 800 extra pounds of food per person.
Yeah. It's going to be Gila monster farms, just open Gila monster farms.
That's so true.
I love here this
open pastures of kind of grazing Gila monsters as far as the eye can see.
Nutrient dense food. So Nestlé launched its new brand Vital Pursuit in 2024. Its first new US food brand in nearly 30 years, explicitly marketed as a companion for GLP-1 users, portion-aligned frozen meals, high protein, high fiber, under $4.99. The pitch is your appetite is gone, so make the 3 bites count. So the idea here being, okay, Nestle have gone, look, people are going to be eating way less. How can we keep selling to them? Let's sell them. Let's make the value prop that our food is really nutrient dense and you can just pop it in your mouth in a bite, because you're obviously not going to want to pack away our frozen pizzas anymore.
No, nobody needs a personal pan pizza anymore.
Personal pan pizza. That was such a great 90s phrase. Mum, can I have a personal pan pizza from Pizza Hut this evening? Personal pan pizza, garçon, I would say.
Yeah, later. Exactly. Can I have a personal pan pursuit, you'll say now. Pan
pursuit.
Yeah. What an interesting name that is. And does that make you I mean, this is that kind of cuts to one of the lingering questions I had, which was, obviously obesity is linked to a lot of health issues, and food companies that, hyper process things and pack things into foods to make you addicted to them have a lot to answer for. However, the idea of pivoting to a world in which we're all just kind of eating pocket-sized bricks of Soylent Green, and it doesn't seem like the optimal solution, but it does seem, I guess, maybe it's the lesser of two evils. But it kind of reminds me of our sort of over optimization episode a couple of weeks ago, because it's like we're sort of shifting to this strange world where everything is, where people's priorities shift because they're not governed by cravings. That's maybe fine, but they're also not particularly governed by the pursuit of pleasurable experiences, of which food might be one or drinks might be one. And that brings me to another point that you raised in your notes, which was the shifting tastes in holiday making, that people are not interested in going on like packaged food and wine tours.
Correct.
Because they'll just be sick after the first bite. But so they're instead going to like, a wellness retreat or like a walk, they're doing the Camino or whatever. So that's that kind of slightly more hedonistic brand of travel is dying off.
It's
because, tens of millions of people don't have an appetite for it anymore.
Exactly. And one of the interesting economic knock-on effects of GLP-1s that I loved, John, because I used to work in the cruise ship industry and I've been on a cruise. Shout out to a friend of the show, Sam. I was reading this very interesting statistic about how GLP-1s are affecting the cruise industry. And the one that really jumped out at me is that cruise ships would offer the all-you-can-eat buffet as a value prop to get people to take the cruise ship, which is what I fucking loved. I was like, of course I want to go on the cruise ship because it's all-you-can-eat buffet and booze, or you can drink booze. But this value prop of the idea that more food equals more value is now starting to weaken. So people are now looking at these cruise brochures, and you're on your GLP-1, and the brochure's like, oh, why don't you come and just... the cruise is such good value because you can have tons of food and tons of alcohol, and you're going, well, I don't eat tons of food and alcohol, so I don't want that. And cruise consultants are apparently starting to demand a shift to more active shore excursions, so bike tours, hikes, walking tours, and this kind of thing. Again, a bit more wellness. So the cruise ship industry, and let me tell you, there's some big bodies on those cruise ships. Those big, beautiful American bodies, and so that I just found fascinating, that the value prop we've always had of like all you can eat.
Yeah, that's right. And I think about the equivalent might be something like a long haul train trip, which I've been on, which again is like propped up by those kinds of perks that you basically, there's not a whole lot to do when you're kind of going between sites, which might take half a day. And the main perk is that you can kind of eat and drink as much as you want. But if you can't do that, you don't want to do that, then you're just kind of bored. You're not alleviating your boredom by gorging. So how are you gonna feel that it was a worthwhile experience, or that you got bang for your buck? Which is fascinating. But then you think, there are lots of experiences like that. I mean, obviously kind of, I don't know, if you think about the kind of value propositions of a lot of sort of a certain tier of restaurant, but also if you think about like I don't know, luxury travel, be it like first class travel or whatever, you might just think, oh, I don't really have an interest in, more generous meal portions or more exotic foods. I just want to get from A to B, and it's of no interest to me.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the interesting things, so this week there's been some stuff in the news in Australia about the kind of collapse of a lot of big ticket theatre and musical and stage productions, opera, musicals, plays, whatever, some of them international, and the kind of the way that the economics of that has shifted. And one of the reasons it's shifted is because, as trivial as it might sound, as we talked about recently on the show, people are drinking, young people are drinking less, and a lot of the way that a lot of smaller venues in particular will make up their money is by having a bar at the venue, by like selling people slightly inflated, not particularly great quality glasses of red to have at the interval or to have before the show or to have after the show. And that's like as important as ticket sales often. Yeah. And so without that, this fairly financially precarious production starts to look a lot less appealing, and some of them have had to kind of, like Beetlejuice was touring and had to close early or whatever. But you think about all those things where, like, think about like cinemas as well, where they're going, well, we'll give you like a bucket of popcorn and a liter of fucking Pepsi, and we'll charge you like as much as your price of your ticket. If you don't want that, if you've just got your you've just got your Vital Pursuit brick in your pocket and you're saying this will be enough to get me through 3 movies, then what's that poor little venue going to do?
That's true.
All those things that you kind of think that incidental mass eating of, particularly of like calorific, slightly indulgent things that we associate with recreational activities.
Yeah,
will go out the
totally.
window.
Like
going to the football. What's going to happen there?
What's going to happen at the footy? You're not going to have footy pie and a hot dog and nachos. And the cinema's a big one, John, because they make a huge amount. I mean, they're already in trouble, and they make a huge amount of their profits through the inflated popcorn and soft drink. And I was just looking it up as you were saying that. There was a bunch of Reddit threads of GLP-1 users saying, I used to love popcorn and now I just never buy it when I go to the cinema anymore. I used to go through a real trough of that butter-soaked popcorn, and I just had 2 buckets, bucket of cola, bucket of popcorn.
Exactly. You got your big gulp and your bucket of corns.
Your double bucket combo. I'm gonna go see new Star Wars and double bucket combo.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the kind of thing as well that you're eating because because you can, really. You don't really need a bucket of popcorn while you sit and watch a movie. But your brain's kind of cueing you, oh yeah, you could go something salty and sweet. If you turn that part of your brain off with Gila Monster hormones, then you're just kind of going, well, it's not necessary. I'm not expending calories. I'm just sitting here watching a film. Fascinating.
Bit of a callback, John, to one of our older episodes. 157 was the DPTM episode cracking supermarket secrets, and we covered the checkout gauntlet. And we covered the fact that $6 billion Americans spend annually in checkout areas. The impulse item. The clue here, everybody, is that the section of the market that's being affected is in the title, impulse. Yeah. So we talked about the fact that the impulse item, when you go to the supermarket or if you go to a basic supermarket, you're familiar with the items that you can buy just before you go to the checkout, and not a lot of us think about how they're presented, and that's very deliberate because loads you just get to the end of the shopping and you go, yeah, I guess I will have a little Snickers, even though you're already past the Snickers, even though you passed the 20-pack of Snickers in the chocolate aisle, but now you get to the impulse item and you're going to pay like 10 times as much for like one tiny Snickers, and you just go,
Usually my willpower has just eroded by that time because I've been walking around the aisles going, no, John, you don't need Tim Tams. You don't need a Snickers. And then I get to the end and I let my guard down because I think, I've survived all those temptations. And then before I know it, I've got I've got a gobstopper in my mouth, and
You got a gobstopper and you buy one Lucy cigarette and you just all single item impulse items. But yeah, so the impulse aisle is going to be very heavily affected. I think data is showing that it is being very heavily affected because that food noise, the constant background information about having to eat, that's just switched off. So you're walking through, you get into the checkout, to the impulse items, and you're just going, I absolutely do not feel like any of these. Cornell Numerator said sweet baked bakery items are a category potentially associated with impulse purchases, showed one of the largest spending decreases of any grocery category. And Circana named the first three categories explicitly. Snacking, confectionery, and soft drinks. These are all heavily rely on frequency and impulse, which are both vulnerable to appetite suppression.
Yeah, fascinating.
The checkout aisle.
So the checkout aisle's losing money. The venues losing money. The silkworm farmers are losing money. But tell you who's not losing money is Denmark. They're going absolutely mental.
This is great. You didn't even know this, but you keep segueing me into my notes, John. Denmark's economic miracle.
I know it's not it's just made to. I'm just making it look natural. I'm reading the notes.
So in quarter one, 2023, the Danish economy grew by 1.9% on an estimated 1.7 points that came from Novo Nordisk, removed the Ozempic maker, and Denmark had absolutely no growth almost. Apparently, Novo Nordisk repatriated so many US dollars and converted them to krona that it pushed the currency up. Denmark's central bank had to cut interest rates to defend the krona peg, which lowered Danes' adjustable mortgage payments. A viral Danish tweet read, "Big shout out to the overweight Americans keeping my mortgage low."
Wow, that's great.
That was probably a little bit of a thumb to Trump and his attempt to invade Greenland as well.
That's right. This Greenland's just going to be used for Gila monster farms now. That's interesting. You've got this kind of, Denmark's always kind of, it's I guess through fossil fuels and generally having the good sense to tax, to have a sovereign wealth fund that's allowed it to keep a lot of that money. It's had plenty of money per capita.
Is that Copenhagen, or are you thinking Norway? Or is it both? Does Copenhagen have a lot of oil too?
I don't know. Maybe I am thinking Norway.
Is it just selling Carlsberg beer? Copenhagen main exports is
Denmark main
Gila
resource.
Denmark looks like they're kicking out a lot of pharmaceuticals, industrial machinery, agricultural products, pharmaceutical
North Sea petroleum and gas reserves. So I guess there is that. So now they've got another thing to hang their hat on, just as the petroleum and gas reserves are kind of going out of fashion. They're saying, hey, everyone, we've got another Texas tea, variety of Texas tea for you.
That's true. Norway would have killed to have discovered GLP-1s and had their own Novo Nordisk, as would the Saudis, because, although it just kind of feels like oil's back, like I think the Strait of Hormuz showed everybody, we really need a lot. We still need a lot of oil. There was a minute there where everybody was saying electric cars, and the House of Saud was panicking and going shit. What if people don't want oil anymore? And now oil's back in a big way.
And now we're in love with oil again.
We're doing our GLP-1s. We're loving oil. This is the future I dreamed of.
It's all going great. So there you go. Fascinating. Fascinating range of consequences. Just quickly, I want to let everyone know that I'm keeping the calories down the old-fashioned way. I've got this the other day, big 2-litre bottle of LA Ice Cola, no sugar. I basically got it because as an impulse buy, because I was buying other things on Uber Eats, and I thought, wow, I didn't even know that LA Ice Cola was still a thing. I associate it, for those who don't come from Australia, it's a kind of strange, it's like if It's like if a supermarket chain had its own, as they often do, have their own kind of cut price brand of popular items. So it's like, it's the sort of no frills answer to Coke, but they've called it LA Ice to give it a bit of mystique, and it's been going since probably 30 years now. Used to be called Australia's Choice, I think, or maybe that's a different product, but I think it used to be associated with Australia's Choice, which was a bit like what in America was called President's Choice. And it's got all the flavor I need without any of the calories. So shout out to sponsors, LA Ice Cola.
I do love the sugar-free cola.
Monsters.
Yeah. I do hope that whatever they're putting in Coke Zero is fine for you long term, because I fucking love that stuff. I
wonder what animal it comes from.
Yeah, what animal is being milked so that I can have a sugar-free Coke experience?
Are there any
exotic
lizards Are there any lizards I can juice to increase my capacity to eat?
The anti-Gila monster.
Exactly.
The appetite increase
goanna
that they give to people with eating disorders.
Just licking goannas and then gorging myself.
I love this. I love a future where we just sample various lizards in order to somebody. And I'm sort of imagining us in the future where whatever you need, you just have a trunk of different lizards out the back, and you just pulling the lids, sifting through them, going, "Oh no, this is the one that increases appetite. This one decreases appetite. This one makes me run. This one makes me run faster. This one keeps me up all night." And then you just give them a little kiss on the, rub their head and kiss their,
somehow
give them a tongue kiss.
21st century, we've just reverting to like ancient folk medicine, just lizard-based remedies.
Beautiful, well, John. Yeah, that was a little bit of a shorter episode. It was a two-parter. But I have absolutely loved hearing about GLP-1s, and I want to.
What do you think that? What do you just to close? I've got an 18-month-old daughter.
Yeah.
She's a bit on the chubby side, to be honest with you, and it's cute right now. Is there what are people saying about giving this stuff to kids? And is there a future where people are just put on it as soon as they start to develop issues, maybe in childhood, and they never have to resist cravings?
Yeah.
They never have to regulate their, they never have to executively control. They never have to exercise any executive control over their hunger pangs, and so they become more and more dependent on pharmacology. Is that a concern that people are raising that you've encountered in your research, or just a concern that you hold personally?
It's a concern that I hold personally. I don't know my research didn't touch on the children, but I do know anecdotally. I have read a few articles over the last few years about. Maybe to close out, we should just touch on those things. There's the issue of children, there's the issue of prisoners, and then there's the issue of what happens when you are dependent on these drugs. Like what happens if you go off GLP-1s? I again have heard anecdotally that people that go off them, the food noise comes back and they put the weight back on. And so that's a sort of precarious situation to be in. It's obviously great for the manufacturers of the drugs.
Yeah,
you would be dependent on them for your whole life. But I'm assuming that children are being prescribed them. I'll do a tiny bit of a Google while I'm talking to you here. But you mentioned prisoners last year.
Yeah. So
last episode.
So last couple of weeks, there's been a bit of chatter in Australia about prescribing GLP-1s to prisoners because, the prison population is, disproportionately affected with a whole range of health conditions, hepatitis, acquired brain injuries, and so on. But I think probably more likely to suffer from diabetes than the average population as well, which isn't helped by the fact that you have limited options to pursue a healthy lifestyle when you're in a cell for 23 hours a day, as some people are. And And so, obviously the state has a duty of care. And if people are kind of dangerously unhealthy because of weight-related health conditions, they might be given GLP-1s. But, there's a perception in the community that this is a kind of vanity drug.
Yeah.
And so it kind of tests that line between what's a sort of, as would a kid, I guess, what's a sort of lifestyle drug and that you might take electively because it makes things a bit easier for you because it gives you the kind of results that you want, as opposed to something that actually, deals with a significant health issue. And I mean, if we're not allowing prisoners to have, to have surgeries to deal with their nasal tip bulbosity or eye lifts, then maybe we do that. I don't really know. But if we're not doing that, then should we be letting them have weight loss drugs? And I say yes. I think those cells are already tight enough, and prisons are overcrowded enough. You don't need any additional girth crowding things up in there. I think. Yeah. I think if we get them all down a few kilos, we'll be able to pack another 50 people in those prisons.
You could build smaller prisons.
Exactly. The prison industrial complex will lose power.
Here we have. I got some kid data for you here, John. Wegovy was approved for kids 12 and up in January 2023. This would be in the States, based on trial data showing a 16.1% average BMI reduction over the 68 weeks. And so there's apparently at the moment there's about 1 in 70 obese teens are on them. And the uncomfortable question: when kids start taking GLP-1s early, this is potentially creating a lifelong customer from the age of 12. Yeah. And the other thing I was asking about is what happens when you go off the GLP-1s, and a trial has found that the weight can come back fast within a year. It says here, Lancet's Clinical Medicine, March 2026, pins it at 60% regained at 1 year, plateauing around 75%. So you keep roughly a quarter of what you lost. And
that's not bad. At least it's not back to 100.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
A large 2026 study found that people who come off a GLP-1, only 14% actually adopt a structured lifestyle changes. And that's interesting. So,
yeah, I mean, you'd hope, wouldn't you, that you'd kind of use it that it might rewire your brain and your habits in a way that is long lasting. But I guess it doesn't take long because so much of this is occurring on a subconscious and hormonal level.
That's right.
It's hard. There you go. Interesting. Yeah. So it's only, I guess we're only a matter of time until we get the kind of next generation of drugs, which might be you pay a premium to get something which maybe sorts you out for a much longer period, or which has a longer lasting effect, or which, maybe it's more.
I don't think Novo Nordisk is rushing to make a drug that you take once and sorts you out for the rest of your life.
It's a bit like why don't we make light globes that last for 50 years? Because unfortunately, the people making them are not altruistic. But there might. I guess you could go the opposite way and say, well, yeah, we'll do something which is kind of GLP light, which maybe helps you a little bit and is like a low dose and is less effective, but it's better than nothing. The budget option.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing we didn't really talk about in the episodes are that people do take lower doses of the stuff. So you do have differing amounts of appetite suppression depending on how much you take in like microdose. To be honest, I would love to try it just to know what it feels like. I would love to know what this turning off of the food noise feels like. It would be an interesting experience to have that kind of appetite suppressant. And John, I also have decided that next week is a 3-parter just on the Gila monster. Nothing to do with GLP-1s necessarily, but we've just through the research for this 2-parter, me and John have absolutely fallen in love with the Gila monster. We're both
the new mascot for the show is Gilly the Gila monster.
We're going to talk about all the fats. We're going to make it like one of those kids' wildlife shows. It's very pretty. Holy shit. I hadn't even
cool
looked at
looking.
it.
Looks like a very colourful blue tongue, like an
Totally
Australian
does look
blue
like a
tongue.
very, very beautiful looking blue tongue. Man, I do want one of these.
Pioneers believed in the Old West a number of myths about them, including that it had foul or toxic breath and that its bite was fatal. How ironic then that people who take GLP-1s notoriously have foul and toxic breath. Relationships. Yeah, there you go.
I love that the two questions when you put Gila monster into Google. Number one, can a human survive a Gila monster bite? Number two, what does the Gila monster have to do with Ozempic?
There you go.
So it's
maybe that's
such
people will start sort of coaxing them into biting them in the belief that gives you some protection.
It's to keep the prices down of having to actually pay for Wegovy. Yeah, you just like cover yourself in whatever a Gila monster's favorite food is, and then starve the Gila monster. Then have it come over and just like go to town on you, and then you don't feel like eating for a year.
Exactly.
It kills your appetite forever.
Or just eat Gila monsters. Like the GLP-1's got to be in there somewhere.
Restaurants is going to be offering Gila monster soup that you just have once and then you don't have to eat for a couple of months. Awesome. Well, I've loved this episode, John. If you've enjoyed this episode, please, you can find us on YouTube and subscribe there, or send the episode to a friend if you've enjoyed it. Really helps build this community. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much, John, and we can't wait to see you next week.
The podcast.